Bulvinasa, thank you so much for agreeing to come for the Leaders Lead podcast presented by SALT. It's basically just a podcast to speak about leadership, experiences, and we want to know people's mindset when it comes to leadership. You being a leader yourself in your field, I'm sure you will give great insights to what a leader is and what is to be expected and some of your experiences that you've learned along the way. So again, Bulvinak, and welcome to this podcast. How have you been so far?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me into your show. It's been a great day. It's been a very challenging last 6 months in my current role, but looking forward to sharing some of those which may assist in his leadership journey.
Let's go all the way back to your childhood. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you remember about your childhood, or where you grew up, and some of the things that shaped who you are now as a person.
I was born in Nasrud Hospital. Obviously, I'm from Narusa village in Naitashi, and I grew up with my grandparents. My dad and my mom sort of broke up when I was really young, and because of my grandparents, they didn't have any children, so mom gave me to them, and then became their child. So that was my upbringing. But my biological mom, there's 6 of us in the family. I've got an older half sister, and then myself, and then mom got married again and had 4 other children. So I've got 2 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters. So I grew up in the village the whole time. My mom used to work in the resort in Castaway Island, and she worked there for more than 30 years. So a lot of my childhood upbringing is between the village of Nabuso, attending Nabuso District School, and during the school holidays I will be in the Castaway Islands with other kids, children of other staff who work at the island. So that's been the norm growing up, navigating between the village and the resort where my mom used to work.
Was it fun? Did you have a fun childhood?
Really fun. I think my first sort of memory of sort of really understanding the context between the two went back as far as I can remember. I was in the Castaway Island walking along the beach and came across a number of tourists. So I started conversation with them, and that's when I sort of found out at the time, at a very young age, okay, there's more to Nabuso, where I grew up, and I sort of met and conversed with people and learned there from other parts of the world, from New Zealand, Australia, the United States, and so forth. So that was probably my first sort of encounter of there's a much bigger and greater world out there, apart from the little sort of so-called box that I grew up in. So that sort of opened my eyes a lot, and I believe over the years I became more exposed in that environment compared to the other children that I grew up with in the village.
How did you develop your love for rugby?
Well, my grandfather, he used to play rugby, and he would go to all rugby games, and he would take me with him and a few friends of his. Ever since I can remember, I'll be at the back of this little car owned by one of the grandfathers in the village, and we'll be attending bigger games, obviously with Rewa rugby at the time, because when I grew up there was no Telebu rugby, there was no Naitashi rugby. There was Naitashi North, but from the village of Mangali all the way down to the greater National area, we all played under Fiji Rugby Union. So it's either attending real rugby games, provincial games, or coming to Suva to watch Fiji play other international teams. So that was my sort of first exposure to rugby. And obviously at primary school level, we had this head teacher. He late head teacher, Mr. Ilson Neliambao from the village of Hawaii Rindale. So he sort of instilled a lot of discipline around rugby and my exposure to rugby at the time. So I remember we put on our rugby jerseys. There was no bridge at the time. There was across the River. They've got a bridge there now. But we'll put on our jerseys with no shoes, of course. We'll run down to the banks, go to a small punt, and we would follow the Waila Road, which was gravel at the time. Ran all the way across the rail bridge, Nosori town to Nosori Primary School. And then we'll play against either Kesavu District School or Nosori Primary School. And then after that, out of our recovery, we called it at the time, so we'll run back the same way, swim across Wimana River, then go back home. So that was probably my best memory of how I decided to focus on rugby.
Did you ever think that you were going to represent our country?
Yes.
Okay.
At a very small age, I started to develop this dream that I wanted to wear the white jumper later in life. And we had a small sort of little compound next to our home. So after every game or every afternoon after school, I would play there by myself. And I would visualize everything, wearing the white jerseys, playing against Samoa. So I'd be running around, dodging trees and gardens and stuff that I put around the compound. And I would be commentating myself as well, mimicking, what I would hear from the stadium and from the radio at the time. So yeah, at a very, very young age, that was a dream, and everything I did, I pursued everything to go towards that dream.
What was the first model of leadership that you saw in your life that you realized, okay, this is a leader that I can get on board with?
It was a late uncle of mine that I grew up with. He joined the army, and then when he came back from some of his tours to Lebanon and to Cairo and Egypt through the UNIFIL, he recognized my talent at a very young age, and he would take me on his as part of his training. So we would run every afternoon. He would come back and teach me some rugby skills. But I think self-discipline was something that he really made sure that, something that I learned very early, at a very young age. So he kept me in line. He kept me away from trouble most of the time. And if I do cross the line, he'd be the first one to discipline me. But he would take me under his wings. So someone that I really sort of adored and missed in the upbringing, but he's someone who really instilled that in my life.
Early on in your rugby career, sir, has there ever been a time where you think back that was one of the biggest disappointment in your life?
Lots of those. Probably the biggest one, which I've shared to a lot of the children nowadays, was I played in the 1994 Dean's final at RKS against Lenin. That's 1994. We played it at King Charles Park, and we lost to Lenin. So we were the sort of the dream team, and probably the only team from RKS that didn't win the grade that time. So I could remember that was a very painful loss. I remember I cried probably for around 2 or 3 days. That's how it got to me. But I think after the third day, I sort of came to realize, okay, I'm gonna use this pain and turn it around and use it as part of my pursuit of the dream that I had earlier in life, which is to go for the white job.
Looking at the life lessons that you learned from that particular disappointment, do you think that that part of your life was needed to happen in order for you to be?
Definitely, definitely. It was also probably the first time I came to realize that failure is part of the growth. Whereas prior to that, I've always seen failure as a failure and not part of the journey. But that was probably the turning point for me in terms of how I can use failure as a stepping stone to pursue the goal that I had in mind.
As a leader, how important is it that you have a good support system?
Very important. As a leader, I always believe that for you to get to where you want to be, you have to take people with you. And with that, they don't have to be, they can be the ones that are more intelligent and smarter than you. They will have more wisdom because they will have to guide you along the journey. So it's really important that you have that really good support network, people who can keep you accountable, people that can also keep you true to yourself. So I believe sometimes as leaders, how we uphold ourselves in the public as role models, that if you don't have a balance between upholding yourself in that space and being truly you, sometimes that can create further problems. So it's really important to have that balance. But you got to ensure that those support systems are safe for you. They are people who you can trust, people that you can respect, and people who can keep you accountable along the journey.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten in life?
Oh, that's a big one. I think the best one, someone asked me earlier on in life about who is your role model. So when I get asked that question, normally I'll think of someone that I always look up to or do. But later on in life, I came to realize that role model is the next best version of myself. So it's about understanding who you are now and who you want to be in the future. What are the qualities and characters of that person? So you get up every morning and you chase that person to become the best version of yourself.
Beautiful. As a leader, what keeps you humble?
My family, my faith, and my friends. So those are three very important elements to help you remain humble. And then there's other things that I sort of factored into around that. A simple one I could share is, we've renovated our house in the village. And initially I thought I'm going to pull it down and rebuild it and make it a little bit nicer. But I couldn't because there are so many sort of good memories. And those were the sacrifices of my parents to provide a roof above our heads. So I sort of decided to keep it and then build around it, make it look nicer. But I didn't want to tweak it too much, including our hot water system. So I didn't want to put hot water in there because I think for me, every time I have a shower in the morning and it's really, really cold, it reminds me of my humble beginnings. So I like to keep it there.
Okay. As a leader, sir, you deal with so many people that come to you for advice. And all these people that you're leading have got different personalities, different backgrounds, different upbringing. How do you make sure that everything stays intact while dealing with all of these different people and whatever they come with?
I think what I believe that for me is, first of all, is understanding who I am as a person and my identity, and understanding where I want to be in the future. So a lot of that comes around leading self. And I've got to build myself to a certain degree before that I can then offer my services or advice to others. And in most cases when I do, it's always about relatable experiences, sharing what I've been through, and hopefully that will sort of provide some sort of advice or insight in the sort of advices that they're after. I think secondly for me, it's about equipping yourself with the type of leadership characteristics and qualities that is needed for what you're pursuing. I think for me, like I said earlier on in my life, I had put this dream of pursuing the white jersey. So everything around my life, whether it's education, whether it's training, or whether I'm out on the field, that dream will never go away. And learning that failure is part of the journey, so I try to build around that. And I think ultimately, when you are in a position of leadership, what is just really important is your leadership ceiling. And you can only give what you have, and that's all that is required from you. But you got to always keep pushing for further ceiling, and keep aspiring for the next best version of yourself. And then the further you grow into that, the more experience and wisdom you will gain along the way, then you'll be able to share that with others who are keen to be part of the journey as well.
Have you ever worked under a leader that you think their character is not something that you would want to deal with? And how did you deal with it?
Yes, I have worked with a lot of leaders. The first thing that I always do is I always make sure that at the end of the day, they are my leaders. So everything that I do, I have to make sure that it is for the benefit of the leader. But then there are times when, when you're required to do things that are outside the scope of your responsibility, and especially when it comes down to your values. So I always make sure that my values are not compromised in the journey. If I'm pushed to that direction, then normally I'll just, with all due respect, say, I'm not gonna go down this path, and then I will remove myself from either those leaders or organizations that I've been involved with. So that's probably the biggest lesson for me, is never to compromise my values. And that's happened a few times along my journey.
You're a leader in your field. You're also a leader at home, a father, a husband. How do you juggle everything?
Juggling is it's a very challenging process. For me personally, the last 6 months has been very challenging because one, the position that I do hold now requires a lot from you as a leader. I mean, rugby, if we talk about rugby in Fiji, rugby matters to everyone. So any little thing, any little decision you make will get scrutinized by everyone who has rugby at heart. But one thing that I've always tried to make sure is, one is to ensure that the decision you make is relevant to the journey that you want to take the organization forward to. That has to be very clear. So you come back you walk into an organization that has inherited issues. It's a huge challenge to try and facilitate maintaining some of those inherited matters, and then how you find ways to improve things around it, whether it's system, processes, or people. In saying that, they'll take and demand a lot from you as a person. So that's where family is really important. So the last 6 months I've been away from my family, being here in Fiji on this acting role at Fiji Rugby. So I made sure that we tried to communicate almost on a daily basis with my wife, and every now and again call my children. But I also have some time every couple of weeks where I'll go back home and just to spend time with my family and refocus and reset. So family is a huge part of that, constant communication with them. I also sort of surround myself with good people. While I have a very good board of directors, I also have what I call my own personal advisory board. People that I know who've worked in high places. They're CEOs of other organizations around Fiji and across the region as well. So I bounce off ideas of them to make sure that I don't, before I make any decision, I've consulted everyone, including my wife, to make sure whether the decision I make is a good one, not just for the organization, but even for me as well. So the juggling process can take a toll on you. So it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. It's about my family, my faith, and my friends, and how do I stay engaged with them to help me stay focused on the journey.
Spoken about your family and how it's important that you are with them as much as you can, but holding that position with the negativity that surrounds it. Family can get hurt in the process. How do you protect them?
We've had a few incidents this year, and with the impact of social media that can really get to them. So I've made sure that whatever I will probably say or what may pop up in the media, especially social media, that I talk to my family and I say, listen, don't get into social media, but if you do get into it, it may come across your way. Don't worry too much about the negative comments that will come with it, because for me, as you mentioned, I have a thick skin. I can handle the negativity, but it'll be a different impact for my wife and my children. I know my wife's got a thick skin as well when it comes to leadership capabilities.
I've spoken with that, don't worry, I know. I know.
Yeah, but my kids, I think over the last 6 months, they've sort of learned that.
Yeah.
That my position comes with a lot of scrutiny as well. So, we always have chats on a weekly or fortnightly basis to talk about some of these issues. And they understand where I stand when it comes to this sort of issues.
All the lessons that you've learned, all the pain, all the challenges that you faced growing up, how has that impacted your life now?
All of those have contributed to the person that I am today. So, I look back at all the failures and all of the negative experiences, and I acknowledge that because that has shaped my character. It has shaped the person that I am today. I had to go through those issues, those failures, those circumstances in order for me to learn to become resilient, to understand who I am and who I want to become. And I acknowledge all those incidents. I go back to my faith when it comes to that. And a favorite verse that I always reminded myself with is around the promises of God in my life in Psalm 139. That before I was conceived, before I even began to breathe the breath of life, every day for me is recorded in His book of life. So for me, that's my go-to when I do face a lot of issues. That I know that where I am now, it's not just a job, it's a calling. And if God chose me to be there, it's a promotion that is set aside for me. It's a calling. And it's a much bigger calling. It's not just for rugby. It's to use rugby to build His kingdom. So that's my ultimate belief when it comes to knowing who I am now compared to understanding who I was years ago.
In your own opinion, what do you think is the one thing that stops the growth of a leader?
Pride is the biggest one.
Ah,
You know, as they say, before the downfall will come pride. So that's the biggest one. Two is probably when you decide to stop learning, because there's always opportunities to learn something new about yourself every day. Regardless of the status you're in or the experience you have in life, you'll come across something new every day. And the moment you decide to think that, I've got it all, I don't need to learn any more thing, that's probably the end of your growth as well. And I think, just being receptive and surround yourself with good people and understanding the leadership qualities and the leadership ceilings you have. Once you reach your ceiling, you need to raise the roof and equip yourself some more. And again, like I said before, keep chasing the next best version of yourself. That person you have to keep chasing, because the moment you catch him or her, then that's probably the end of growth as well.
you can choose not to answer the next question if you don't want. A lot of leaders hold your position, the position that you're holding at home. What makes you different?
A lot of leaders could have said this too. I think it's about my faith and understanding that it is my calling. That's the first one. Probably the second biggest one I've discovered in the last 6 months is understanding the whole rugby ecosystem. I think the difference I have with majority of past leaders is in rugby. I've played the game at grassroots level. I've played the game professionally. I've played across some of the elite competitions around the world, so I've been exposed to that level of high performance and great leaders. I have transitioned into not just coaching but high performance coaching, and with that came the accreditation requirements from the initial level to the highest level. I've transitioned well into rugby administration. I've worked regionally across Australia and the Pacific region. I've built myself around sports diplomacy over the last 2-3 years, so I now understand that space really well. I'm now entering into the governance side of things, understanding the concept of good governance, and I've sort of built that towards what I've been doing over the last 6 months. And I've got really good networks all around the world. I've been to places where I've played with a lot of players who are now in high positions in either rugby or professional clubs around the world. I back that with my education. Got an executive MBA, and everything that constitutes around that is the pursuit of rugby and sports. So all my theses, all the work that I've done, tricked it to a certain degree to ensure that it fits the direction of and the vision that I have in mind. So now coming back and being in that position, I have a lot more insight into the systems and procedures and where the gaps are in Fiji Rugby. And we've just also redeveloped a new strategic plan. So I've been part of 2 strategic plans for Fiji Rugby, sorry. This one I'm more heavily involved in. I do the majority of the work together with our board and other people that I bring into the gym. So yeah, that's the whole rugby ecosystem that I believe sort of gave me the edge over others. But I came in with a motto in the last 6 months that I will continue to use for the next couple of years. One is to acknowledge the past and honor those who've been before you. At their time, with the resources they have, they've done their best to bring Fiji Rugby to where it is now. Embrace what I have, embrace the people, embrace what Fiji Rugby has at the moment. But then I have to work with others. I can't do it by myself. And then we work with others to help strengthen the future. And the future for Fiji Rugby is really exciting over the next 10 years. We enter into a period where we've never been before. So it's an exciting but very challenging journey as well. So to get there, I need the support of others and take them on a journey with me in order to get Fiji Rugby to where we want to be in the next 10 years.
You did mention that you're chasing someone, you and your future self. What does he look like?
Young. I wish. But
Character-wise,
someone who is honest, with a lot of integrity, who is focused on the vision, professional in everything that he does, but never lost the person who he really is. Humble, a family man, with good friends, and then someone who can still remain on the ground despite all the great things that will come with rugby.
How do you deal with disagreements?
Always happy to agree to disagree. In the past, I've always reacted, and that was a personal thing that I've learned to adapt myself into. Now I'm more relaxed and focused. I try to sleep over it, consult others, and then come up with the next best decision. Whether that decision is right for the person or not, as long as it fits the overall direction of where we want to go in life. Whether it's rugby, whether it's family. But I think a lot of it comes down to relationship building. That's what I've learned in Fiji and in the Pacific. Once you build good relationship, once you have the trust of the people that you work with, once they gain your trust and the respect that you're there not just for your own benefit but for them as well, then this disagreement can be sorted in many different ways with a more positive outcome.
I heard a funny story from my wife in our previous episode, and she mentioned how you went to a social event and people recognized you as Dr. Sewabu. As speaking with her as an academic and everything that she's achieved in life, as a husband, how do you ensure that you don't outshine her, but you are both shining together as individuals, but together as a family, you are stronger together?
Yeah, we've been through a lot in our journey. We've been through a lot of challenges earlier on in our marriage, and as young couples started having kids along the way and learning to compromise. And I think over the years we've built up a good system. I think if I can remember, an example that I gave was when I transitioned out of playing back into university, and I thought, when I got to that stage, I realized there's this life after rugby, and I haven't really thought about it. But years before that, she had always reminded me that, hey, you need to study, and I always responded by, it's just a piece of paper. But come the end of my career, then I realized I needed that piece of paper. So I enrolled myself without really consulting her, because at the time she just started a PhD journey. So that was a massive transition. So I think she understood that I needed to go back to university and get my qualification, but she also needed my support because she was embarking on a PhD journey. So along those years, we've learned to compromise. We were blessed at the time that we worked in the same university, and we studied at the same university, and we lived within the university. So we could compromise study times and work times. It was very challenging, but there are moments where you have to, when it comes to compromise, we always talk about give and take. What can I sacrifice now so that she can pursue the goal that she needed to pursue, and then maybe I can do something later. But we agreed to that, and we both came out fine. Probably came out stronger as well.
Wow.
And it was also during a time where we were dealing with our marriage. So that was a very challenging time, but I think it really helped us both to grow stronger together and really become the husband and the wife that we are today, and parents to our lovely children.
This next question is two parts. What would you want Fiji to remember about you, and what would you want your family to remember about you?
What would I want Fiji to remember about me? Probably, for me, Fiji Rugby is someone who takes Fiji Rugby to the next level, to a period that we are about to enter. But to get there, it's about setting all the right foundation system, procedures, and have the right people in place. And I think that's part of the journey. It's not about achieving the ultimate result. It's about what you build, whether it's people, whether it's system, whether it's structures. It's what you build in order for that goal or dream to be achieved. Because if I build it around myself, then it could end when I end. But if I can build people, systems, and procedures around it, then it becomes sustainable in the longer term. For my family, I just want them to remember me as the dad, the husband that they long for, to acknowledge that I have limitations, but within those limitations, I use everything that I have in my hands to achieve what I wanted to achieve in life. And part of that achievement is giving them the opportunity, the respect, the guidance they need as a father and a husband, and just being them understanding that it's not about the status, it's about who I am as a person and how I influence and impact their lives.
And if you want people to walk away with one thing from this episode, what would that be?
Be true to yourself. That's probably my biggest thing. Always be true to yourself, regardless of your position, your title, who you are, and who you want to become. Be true to yourself is about knowing who you are, understanding where you want to go, what values does that take for you to get to where you want to be, and then obviously leave a legacy behind so that other people can learn from. There's a saying in the rugby space that the jersey doesn't belong to you, but when you wear them or when you use them, just make sure you leave it at a level far better than when you first started for the next person to take it further.
Such a pleasure to have you on this podcast, sir. And I wish you all the best in everything that you do. And hopefully we'll have more conversations like this in the future.
Now,
Thank you very much, sir. Good night.